afternoon. Thanks so much for attending the first Tuesday Times Roundtable this year. We're so happy to see you all. As you know, the Tuesday Times Roundtable is a part of the Global Learning for Global Citizenship and sponsored by us along with the New York Times and Academic Affairs this year. We're very happy to present for our first Tuesday Times Roundtable, Brittany Janes. She received her Bachelor's of Art in Communication from Metropolitan State University of Denver and went on to obtain a Master's of Science in Student Affairs and Higher Ed from Colorado State University. She's been here at FIU since 2011, and she's a Senior Academic Bridge Advisor with Transfer and Transition Services. So, Brittany is a strong advocate for foster youth, and that's why she's here today to talk about foster youth. She's volunteered, mentored, created support services for foster youth all across the country, and believes education is the key to success. Her goal here at FIU, one of her goals, is to create a program here that provides resources and support services to former and current foster youth to ensure their continued success. So I'm pleased to welcome.
Okay, let me fix this real quick. Hold on. Okay, nope, that's not it. Okay, so again, my name is Brittany Janes. And just a little more background about why I'm interested in this population. I actually was in foster care myself, and I realized there wasn't a whole lot of guidance or resources or support specifically for foster youth. There's a lot of support for first-generation students, for low-income students, for students from all different types of populations. However, specifically for foster youth, there's not a lot of support. And they also typically fall into all of those categories anyway. They're often first generation, they're often low income, they're often students of color, so they have all these challenges and odds against them, and there's no support for them. So I really, really wanted to try and bridge that gap because education really is the key to success. But if you don't have any support, it's really hard to get through it. So that's a little bit of background about why I'm interested in this. I'm going to do just a brief presentation, then I want to definitely get into some dialogue about the topic. Typically, it's just mostly dialogue, but I do want to provide some of you with just a little bit of background about the foster youth population, because many of you may not know about this population, and it's hard to talk about something if you don't know about it. So I want to just give you a little bit of data about the actual population. So who are current and former foster youth? And the pretty general definition is children and youth who have been removed from their birth parents or other adults by state authority because of abuse and neglect. And typically people assume that it's just children who've been abused, but actually there's a lot of cases where these children have been neglected as well. A lot of the times they're taken away from the home for that. Just a few facts and figures to give you a little better idea. So 25,000 kids age out each year. How many of you know what the term age out means? Okay. Yeah, so there's a few people here who know what that means. Basically, in simple terms, that means you are out on your own. That's basically what it means. You're not, I like to call it owned by the government anymore. That's how I refer to it as. You're not owned by the government anymore. You're on your own. They just kind of say, okay, see ya, good luck. And of course, there are support programs in place. However, a lot of times these students just kind of get lost in translation, basically. So also there's about 500,000 foster students on any given day in care. That number fluctuates, but they're, usually about 500,000. Most of them are students of color. 70% want to attend college, but actually only 10% are enrolled. Does anybody have any idea why this may be? 70% want to attend college, but only 10% are enrolled.
I have intimate knowledge of this. I have 2 emancipated foster care kids living with me. They don't know how to apply. They don't know how to navigate financial aid. They don't know how to get the grades they need in high school. They don't know how to attend school regularly. I mean, and my list could go on.
Yeah, exactly. You were going to say something?
I like the way
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, since I work in admissions, the main goal that I've come across is that students are ashamed. They don't want anyone to know that they're going through this process. So if they don't talk to anyone or tell anyone anything, they really don't get the help that they need when it's time for them to apply to college.
I'm really
Yes.
glad that you said that. That's a huge point. People are, this population specifically, are extremely afraid to ask for help, or they don't know how to ask for help.
I know several other college students who were foster age, or who were foster kids, and already aged out. And I met them before they aged out. They were worried about how they're going to pay for school. They were worried about how to take care of their younger siblings and meet all the expenses, where they're going to live as soon as they did age out of foster care. So there were a lot of different factors. that
And we're
were
gonna
concerns for them.
we're gonna touch on all of that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's everything that everyone said is perfect, because we're gonna get to that next. Oh, and the last one I wanted to, this is a huge statistic. This just shocked me when I first saw this. It's actually less than 2% receive a bachelor's degree. So less than 2%. 30% is the national average. So 30% of the average American population receives a bachelor's degree, but less than 2% of foster youth receive a bachelor's degree. So this basically tells us that we need to take action. This is basically what that says. So some common educational barriers, all the stuff that you all just mentioned. The first one, long-term impacts of abuse and neglect. I heard maybe last year that foster youth suffer rates of PTSD twice the amount that veterans do. Okay, twice the amount that a veteran does. I mean, that's just like shocking to me. It made so much sense to me when I heard that. Lack of support. They don't have parents to turn to oftentimes. They don't have anyone around them who maybe went to college to give them any advice. They don't have mentors. They don't have any guidance on how to apply to financial aid, how to fill out an admissions application. So lack of support. Finances. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. Students that were in foster care, there's certain rules, but they do get a tuition waiver. However, tuition waivers are great. That's amazing. But there's a million other expenses that come with college. There's books, there's supplies, there's housing. How are you supposed to pay for housing? That's a huge chunk. Food, cell phone, I mean, most of these are necessities. You have to have a place to live if you want to go to college, right? So finances is an issue. And then, of course, housing. Even students that are lucky enough to have places to live, that's great, but there are a lot of them who live on campus, which is amazing. However, what do they do when summer rolls around and they have to leave the dorms? Like, where are they supposed to go if they don't, have any contact with their family? What about winter break? What are they supposed to do for that entire month when the dorms are closed? So this is a huge issue, which leads to a lot of times homelessness, which is another huge issue that foster youth face. A lot of people think that these are separate populations, but homeless youth and foster youth typically go together. I mean, they typically have the same challenges, the same issues, and are in kind of the same boat. So those are just a few of the educational barriers. If you guys pull out your article, does everyone have one?
Should be on everyone's table.
Yeah. So if you guys read this, you can kind of tell that she faced all of these issues. She had all of these challenges. So what were your thoughts and reactions to the article? Did anything surprise you about the article?
I was surprised that with the stress she already had just as an individual, that she still had a longing to connect with her mom, who was bipolar, and now just bring more drama.
Coming from her position, where my mom was always trying to get money from me when I was like 12, I actually kind of took the opposite extreme. I was like, I won't help you at all. You're an adult. Get it together. But a lot of students, and I still had that love for her. I still had that compassion. But a lot of students or a lot of youth, doesn't matter how many times their mom messes up, doesn't matter how many times or how many issues they face, they still love them unconditionally, and they're willing to sacrifice their future in order to maybe help their parents succeed. So she said like 4 times in this article, I need to support my mom. I need to go to work so I can help them. I need to make sure they're stable. Like, why are you making sure your parents are stable? Shouldn't your parents make sure that you're stable? You know, so it's an interesting.
She also recognized that her mother has bipolar disease. It's
Yeah.
not like she's an alcoholic or a drug user, at least in this article it doesn't say that. She has something that she really needs help with. I mean,
That's
this is a
completely.
this is a different thing than your mother's a crackhead.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you can argue both sides of the story. I'm always on the other side because of my own experiences. But it's not her job to take care of her mom's bipolar disorder. It's her, in my opinion, it's her mom's job to take care of that issue. Now, if you want to help, I understand. Like you want to help. It's your family. You want to help them. I completely understand that. Of course, you have compassion for your parents, right? But why does she have to give up her whole life? Why does she have to support? Why does she have to work 2 jobs to support her mom? So that's just my opinion. Anyone can disagree with that. Anyone can disagree.
I am somewhat, I can see your point because if she supports herself, if she takes care, this girl, if she takes care of her own future, she will be able to support herself as well as her mother.
Exactly.
But if she loses track of her future while supporting her mother, she will not be able to do both.
I think that idea of future, though, sometimes it's something that's not always the same for everybody. Her future could have been tomorrow, this week, this coming month. Some people may think, okay, the future could be the coming years, a lifetime. So maybe she was thinking of her future, I need to take care of
Exactly. That's in the survival mode.
I think this concept of future is something that we can enjoy maybe in this room a little bit more than foster care youth or emancipated foster care youth. They don't really have a concept of future. Everything is about now. To plan something, to realize an action today is going to have an impact tomorrow is very difficult. And so the mother is there here and now, thinking that if I go to school, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'll improve my life, I'll improve hers. I don't see that in my dealings with foster care youth as something that they're really capable of.
There's also this that I kind of see too, which is why I have my point of view about it. There's also this role reversal, that now you're not the child anymore, now you're the parent. That's what goes into that. Now I have to take care of her. Now I have to make sure she gets her medicine. Now I have to make sure I work 2 jobs even though I'm 16 and I'm in high school so I can pay rent because she can't, because she's not mentally stable. I know lots of people that have mental health issues that take responsibility for themselves and get the help that they need. It's okay to ask for help. So I understand that she's not a crackhead, she's not an alcoholic, but there's millions of people in the world that take responsibility and take ownership of their own lives and take care of themselves. So why in this situation, as a 16-year-old, does she have to put herself, in homeless shelters and then go work 2 jobs to pay for housing for her mom? So that's just my opinion.
A question for you or for anyone, does anyone know of any research on possible correlations between foster kids and kids of drug-addicted parents in their emotional responses in this vein?
I mean, I don't have any statistics, but I mean, they typically.
Of items like themes like, do these kids have? Is that a common theme that kids of foster homes and kids of drug parents don't have a concept of future or feel the compulsion to take care of their parents more so than other children. Are there common themes?
Well, I would think that there is research on that in the psychology literature, but there's a difference, I think, between a kid still in a home with a mentally ill parent or a substance abusing parent and a child that's been removed from that home because the parent is addicted to drugs. And I don't see much difference between addiction and mental illness. I think addiction is a form of mental illness.
They often go together. Not always, but often.
Well, sometimes you self-medicate, but I'm wondering what your background is, because you seem to think it's real easy to get yourself help. And I mean, I know for myself, when I've suffered with depression, I haven't been real ready to go get help, and I'm faculty here. So to say how easy it is to go get help when you're suffering from a mental illness or a substance abuse issue, I don't buy that it's all so easy.
I don't think it's easy, but I also don't think it's the child's responsibility to know to go get help for their parent. I don't think it's easy to get outside of your depression and ask for help and realize that there even are resources for you, because half the time people don't even know there are resources for them. However, why is it a 16-year-old's job to know that for you? That's just my opinion. But you're going to say something?
Yes, I very much agree with you, because if someone is not a healthy, functioning adult and cannot take care of themselves, yes, they need help, but a child does not have the background, the experience necessary, the professional knowledge of being able to help their own parent when they themselves are still learning, they're still developing, and they're still growing.
So, I don't technically believe that the addiction or the mental illness should stop you from doing anything, because in my personal experiences, I have a parent who isn't addicted to anything, doesn't have a mental illness, but would rather use somebody else as a crutch to get by. And that's just feeling sorry for yourself. So in a sense, it's all mental, it's all a mentality, right? It's not technically, oh, this is holding me back. It's just how you perceive the world, or how you perceive taking opportunity, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, anyone else have anything to say?
There are different colors in the spectrum of mental illness. Having myself suffered from depression, I know that it's up to myself to go and seek help. I mean, people can give solutions and things like that, but unless I go, I can't help myself, and I become a burden for myself as well as for other people. I mean, I came here last fall, and towards the end of the fall and in the beginning of spring, I was almost sinking. I understood that I needed help, but I was, people are saying that it's true, that it's difficult to go and seek help. But ultimately, I had to force myself to do that. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the mother's responsibility. And moreover, I'm a physician myself, and I can tell that a bipolar disorder, I have seen people suffering from that. It's far less severe than something like schizophrenia or something like that. So it's not that we can't take care of it.
My question is, it kind of like relates, like as far as bringing like foster care back to FIU, is like, what is typically the next step for someone in her case? Where it sounds like she's going to graduate with her GED, and for a lot of people, next step would be, you know, like a college or university. Like, how does that typically play out?
Well, see, that's...
Kind of not too familiar with.
Okay, so that's why this all kind of plays into that, because what happens is, like in this article, she's working jobs and you know, trying to support her family and her mom and her sister. So how would she be able to go to college? That's the question. How is she going to be able to pay rent for her mom and her sister and herself while also paying tuition and books and food and housing for herself on campus if she needs that? So that's kind of the issue we face. And a lot of times students do get tuition waivers, like I said, and there are a lot of scholarships out there for them. However, I feel like it's getting harder and harder to get the money that you need because tuition keeps raising, books keep going up, everything keeps increasing. So then there's still that gap.
It still goes back to the shame aspect of it and not being educated about it. We have some students here in the summer program that FIU just started here. And most of our students fit that particular background. And we have quite a few students who are taking care of their home life while they're here on campus and they're not able to function, they're not able to focus. And the support is really something that has really helped these students. If they have to do that and the responsibility has been put on their shoulders, at least with the support, they can kind of figure out how to balance the two. But it's with the culture, with the environment, because it's driven home to them. You don't leave your family no matter what it is that you're doing. So they take that into survival mode. They come here. They figure I have to do it because if I don't do it, I can't leave my mom, which is, the connection that they have, the emotional attachment. But then you have some students who they do feel, okay, my mom has to get help because I don't have anything else that I can give. So I don't think it will ever be a clear, defined line on what we can do to help this person and that person. It just depends on the strength of the person. It depends on how much support they're getting, who's their caretaker, if they have anyone being a caretaker. And in my home, it's the same thing when you talk about drug-addicted parents. I have two cousins who we call them our brothers because we've had them since they were babies. And their biological mother was on crack for almost 25, 30 years. And instead of going through the system, who's going to step up and take care of these children? What type of medical things are they going to be going through? How can they adapt to us? And so with my mother, if she had not been exposed to that, been educated on what to do, they would not be successful today. They would not be A students. They wouldn't be able to adapt. So I just think that it just depends on the education, the situation, and how strong they are. And, I feel bad when former students like yourself have to go through that because now you're forced to grow up and not really enjoy being a child. You have to take on that type of responsibility. So it just kind of depends on what we're going to do to it as a society.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Me being a prosecutor myself, one thing I really would like to point out is, in my certain situation, the representatives that would come out and assess me or my siblings, they weren't too knowledgeable about resources that would help us, and all the information I found out, that all the help that I found was usually stuff I got for myself. Usually I had to kind of knock down their door, or 9 times out of 10 it's an automated machine or like some sort of automated service where you push a certain button to get to something, and it just takes forever. I think that Department of Children and Families can't really parent anyone. They're entitled, the caretaker. The parenting really just came either from my siblings or an authoritative figure, but to be honest, I think there was just lack of involvement. I had multiple caseworkers and counselors and life management people and just different people with different titles, but none of them really taught me anything, to be honest. So I had to learn a lot myself. Or my last 2 years of high school, I lived with my football coach, so he taught me a lot of stuff. So it wasn't really necessarily the aspect of me being embarrassed or me not knowing, or it was just me not knowing how to ask for help, really. That's what it was. I wasn't told to ask how to ask for help. I wasn't told that there was a tuition waiver out here for me. There are scholarships out here for me. There is medical attention that I can get for free. I didn't know of any services or any types of benefits I could get out of this situation simply because I wasn't informed. I was ill-informed. I think that's all it goes back to, is either disinformation or not enough information. But the bottom line is I feel like I needed to be educated more. I was deprived, and I'm learning it all later now that I'm in the midst of everything, which I feel like I needed. I wish I had more tools to start with going into everything, because like you said, I didn't know that I had to fill out all these housing applications, and I didn't know I needed this much money for this. I didn't know that I could have some sort of help, you know, especially me being on my own now. When your hand is held for so long and they finally let you go, DCF is just like, all right, you just do whatever you want, do whatever, you know. That's what it feels like to me. I'm not in contact with any of my caseworkers.
And
today.
then an issue that you mentioned, I just want to touch on too, about the caseworkers and life managers not helping and all that stuff. It's also kind of hard to help when they're in your life for like 2 months. You know what I mean? You get switched and you get, you know, moved around. You go to, and it's hard for a foster parent to help when you're in their home for 3 days. And yeah, so that's a whole. I mean, that goes into the lack of support, and just, you know, also like foster students tend to move around a lot. But going back to Matt's question about, so what does this mean for higher education? So we know these are issues. We know there's lack of support. We know that they don't have the resources that they need sometimes. We know there might be some, they might be suffering from some mental health issues. We know they might have financial troubles, housing issues, all that stuff. So what does this mean for higher education in FIU? So the first question is, how can we create support services at FIU? Does anyone have any ideas before I tell you what we're already doing?
There is, like, they are creating in Dade County Public School a group, but it's also like a bureaucratic group. But they have to be identified before they come in. And there should be like a special place where all the new students with that classification, so they would be helped. I have pre-college programs, and I have received several of those students, and even a step before, because they are like usually fostered by a grandparent, but they never declare them officially as foster kids. So all the resources that they are in the state, they are not available because they're legal. So there is also some help before they get here.
Yeah, and that kind of plays into what we're going to touch on as well, is community partnerships. So yeah, it's hard to identify them coming in if we don't have partnerships with Miami-Dade schools. Like we have to have some kind of partnership so they can notify us that these students were, you know, in care. They might need some extra resources, but you have to build those relationships. Yep.
There are also some laws in place that they are not allowed to share that information. So that's things on that level are being worked on. There are some federal issues that are being worked on now, but just getting a student's grades, you have to have permission to get your grades. And now there's a federal law that's being passed that anybody can get their, you know, appropriate parties can get their students' grades. Collaboration is the key, but you're in major bureaucracies doing this stuff, and it has to be a constant push. And not only in Miami-Dade, but in the entire state of Florida, everybody has to get on board to say, we need to help this population. Why isn't this happening? And I would go further to say that there are also amazing initiatives going on, what they call 0 to 5, 0 to 5 years old. Preparedness, have these students come in, they probably couldn't even get into FIU to begin with, so they, as you know, go to Miami-Dade. They spend their first 2 or 3 years in remedial classes just to get to that point. I have a dear friend of mine, 27 years old. It took her 3 years to get through Miami-Dade. We got her into FIU, and she graduated last week. It took her almost 6 years to graduate from college.
It actually isn't that bad. I mean, that's like the average rate
But think of the age. That's at 27 years old she graduates from college. Now, this is another major issue. I mean, thank goodness, and it happened, but this isn't normal either. And there is always the struggle of, at least in Miami, you're given, generally, if you're in school, you're given a little stipend of money. If you go above that stipend, they start deducting the money. So if you basically can't work. they get like $800, $890 a month. You live on that. Live on $892 a month. If you go to work and you make a certain amount above that level, they start cutting your stipend. It just repeats the constant, for me, it's all about poverty. It continues this constant cycle of poverty. You can't get out.
Yeah,
And
it's a vicious circle.
These things, I don't know how they're gonna do it, or what the solution is, but those are some major issues for this youth. And I know we've been speaking for a while, I think my major issue, besides getting them into college, keeping them and having them graduate, is housing. It is a huge deal, and I know we've been in talks with people at FIU, and are hopefully one day we'll get somebody to help with.
What about students? Are there some students that want to speak up? Yeah.
I'm also interested to hear about the different ideas or programs that you in like FIU want to help install, because I remember in psychology we talked about this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is basically saying like how can you think of like school and schoolwork when you have no place to stay?
Exactly.
You have no place to eat. So that doesn't even make sense, you know. So I'm interested to see what can be done to help them get here when they don't even have this yet.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, I'm gonna say I was a foster care kid. What made me like get involved, because I was also in a situation where I was not really focused on school or anything, was a company called Educate Tomorrow. My mentor, which I have been in contact with him. He helped me with college and everything. He was the one that got me into college. So there's programs out there, but you have to look for them.
I think if we first identify what they really need, they do need the counseling support. Even if the stuff is out there, once they get here, it is up to them whether or not they want to be identified, and if they do want the help. If they don't want to be identified, there's really nothing that we can do. But I think that if we develop some type of maybe club for them, something that they can actually take, charge of to address their needs and figure out what they want to do. Maybe meeting with the hierarchy here, letting them know, listen, we're a population here on campus and these are the things that we need. In addition to the tuition waiver, why not cover at least half of their expenses with housing? If they're getting Pell Grants, then we can try to figure out what we can do with them. What's going on in Tallahassee? Is there anything else that we can use as an advocate or someone to say, listen, this is what we have here. The students are here to speak on their behalf. This is what we want to do here. With the partnerships here, there's a lot of money in the city of Miami. And the thing is, they are unsure about giving their money because they don't know exactly what they're giving their money to. But I think if we develop a plan and approach them, I think that we can develop some outside scholarship funds, and people do want to help. We had a student here who was homeless in our summer bridge program here, and there was a lot of outside help. When they heard about him, they wanted to donate money to him. They wanted to buy him clothes. They wanted to do a lot of things because he had nothing. And I think if we, I would say, expose it the right way, then we can get the attention that we need to have. But it's just like you said, if they don't want to be identified and the help is not out there, there's nothing that we can do. Also, when I recruit students, I serve as a mentor, and we do have other mentors that are involved in the program as well. The students know they can come and see us anytime. And I think if they have someone that they can reach out to and those willing to reach out to them, then they can develop that type of trust and relationship with them to tell them what they need. And then it better prepares us, because then we know if we hadn't had a student like this, we didn't know how to help them. Getting other like student life involved and getting housing involved and getting everybody on board is really key. We can do it. No one just knows what to do about it.
And that's really one of the main keys, is awareness, and then building those partnerships as well. which is really what we're doing right now. This is a slow process. It actually, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're doing. It really does. It takes a little bit of time. It's a slow. It doesn't have to be a slower process, but there is all this bureaucracy, and if we can't get Miami-Dade Public Schools to give us information, we can't get this, we can't. It just takes a while. Eventually, I'm sure we could probably figure something out, but it is a process.
I know you guys have contacts with Educate Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I know that they've already figured out some of this. I happen to be a mentor through Educate Tomorrow.
Me too.
Most of their mentors, though, happen to be lawyers, or often lawyers, because of the organization was started by lawyers. But it strikes me that faculty, a lot of us have extra bedrooms. We could take in some of these emancipated foster care youth. There was a big outpouring when Katrina victims had no homes and came here from Louisiana and needed to go to school here. I don't know why we couldn't have an organized effort. I mean, the kids that live with me, they don't live with me for free, but I charge them $500 for room and board, which is a far better deal than they got anywhere else, in a far better home than they got anywhere else. And my advice comes constant. Well, it took work to get the one is still in high school and he's 20. And it took work to get him to understand about going to school every day and the importance of being there on time and being there. And it's not that they haven't had adults in their lives. They've had adults in I'm the first person that's ever told them they needed to do homework. And but at any rate, I've often thought that FIU could have some sort of organized system where faculty take in some of these kids when they're emancipated, especially if they're being emancipated and they're still in high school. And because often they can't afford to live and finish up that high school right in the neighborhood where they are. So that's disruptive.
That's another issue.
I mean, that's another issue.
Changing schools.
But we have, a lot of us have spare rooms. A lot of us could do this and might do this with training, with institutional support. And I don't mean money, I just mean, the other kinds of stuff. But they also need more than just a place to live. Because many of them become homeless after they've established themselves because they don't know how to manage the stipend. And the stipend...
Or financial management.
Well, and our kids and the other agencies can reduce that stipend just on a whim. They can decide that they're giving those kids too much money for whatever reason, and the kids' only recourse is to take them to court and get a lawyer for free and have to go through that system, and it's long and drawn out. And it's a mess, and I don't see, I think FIU could do more to help them. I don't know that it's an issue that they don't want to say that they're foster kids or they're emancipated. I think a lot of them don't know to say it, that it'll get them some help. Because one of the two kids living with me, I had to say, look, there are people at Miami-Dade that are trained to help you as an emancipated foster care kid. And I got them the contact, but he said, well, I didn't know that if I told somebody this, they would know I had special needs.
Well, some people actually do feel ashamed to bring it up. Some people don't know that they could bring it up and that there is support and resources for them. There's a whole lot of the challenges that are around that. But coming from the other perspective, what do students think that we could do on campus? What do students that are in this room, think of your own needs as a student. What would you need as support? Yeah, Evan.
Well, what I've learned to realize is there's ultimate power in networking. People who actually believe in each other, people who want to support each other. I don't know if that's she was talking about, some sort of network, some form of, not even necessarily a club, just people who share common, trait, can come together and support each other, and usually that positivity carries over and people become really successful. I know with the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, the networking there is unbelievable. You just got a bunch of people caring about each other, worrying about whether this person is okay or not. If we could have something like that, that would definitely be beneficial in my eyes, especially when you develop a personal relationship with people. You generally want to help that person, you know? A network is probably one of the best things I think we could do.
Okay, perfect. Any other students have any thoughts on, just from your perspective, what you need as a student?
I think the whole thing above, that's a good idea, and networking as well. But at the same time, I'm still trying to figure out, even if you were to have that, how would that help somebody that has, like, still worrying about if they have a place to sleep?
Yeah.
Or if during the summer, or if they can have money to cover this and this, you know what I'm saying? Like, certain things have to be taken care of first, like those basic needs before you can even think about it. Because emotionally, yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't have food. I don't care who's coming, you know what I'm saying?
You're like, I'm going to network if I'm starving.
Yeah.
Well, there are some like.
Well, she hasn't spoken, so I want to let her go really
To
quick.
add to what she said, I think that's so true because if you are worrying about, okay, where am I going to sleep tonight? What am I going to eat? You're not going to be focused on, okay, I need to get an A in this class because, I need to qualify for scholarship, so I need to, advance myself so that I can work. You're not going to be focused on that. And no matter how hard you try to focus on that, it's going to be just too difficult for you to do it. Because I'm not a foster kid, but just the stress of tuition and, okay, where am I going to find the money for this or the money for that, it really distracts you. So, you need to, as she said, you need to satisfy certain needs before you can even get up to emotional needs and that kind of thing. So
Or social.
definitely,
Yeah.
the basic needs have to be satisfied as well as the other financial needs because finances can really, really stress you out even if you're working. You could have two parents working and you're getting ready for college and it is so much stress. So imagine if you have no parents working. You are not gaining any huge income if you're even working yourself. So, what are you supposed to do?
Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry, well, if the thing what you were saying about having a place to live and things like that, there's special considerations that can be made for students here, like over the break. If, like I said, the instance with the student that we had, once the summer was over, he didn't have a place to go back to. He was waiting on housing. So we worked out something where housing let him stay free of charge those 3 weeks that he needed so that he could move into the place that was already set aside for him. With financial aid, we have someone that was designated to help explain it to him, and we were, actually working with him to let him know what this was, what grants were, really educating him and letting him know the benefits of what he needed to pay for classes. Like I said, there were people who were identified in the community who were sewing into the student, really helping him, paying for his books, getting his clothing and things together. Meal plans and things are already included in housing, so he had meals where he could eat every day. So it's like, if we don't know you're out there, we can't really give you what we can offer you. And then if also being consistent with what Tiffany was saying here, we have to be consistent and the student has to be consistent as well. If we're offering you the opportunity to get these resources, you also have to put your foot in the door too and say, okay, well, if I know I have this person, I have to go and see them in order to do this, then I'm going to do it. And then we have to say, we're going to step up to the plate and say, we're going to help you. Then we have to commit to helping them as well. So it's a two-way street in a way. But we do have things here that can help them. They can eat, they can sleep. But if they don't tell us what they need, we can't really do the grunt work and help them out. I always tell my students, they pay us to stress, so we don't stress about it.
So, and again, we kind of know that's one of the challenges is that a lot of these students don't know how to ask for help. So, in order to get around that challenge, we actually, number one, we do have kind of a networking group. It's called, and I'll let you talk about it in a little bit, Betsy. It's called Promoting Academic Success. It's basically a community dialogue where we have members of the community from all over Miami-Dade, from Miami-Dade College, from FIU, from FAU, all these places that really want to create a support system for these foster students. So, but we know that it is an issue sometimes for them to know how to ask for help. We actually were able to identify, I was able to identify the list of 72 foster students on campus through financial aid, and I actually reached out to them and emailed them and say, hey, if you'd like to be a part of this, I'm here if you need extra help. I work in advising. If you have questions about FIU, if you need some resources, I'm able to help you. So again, at that point, it is still on them. I can't force them to come get help. So yes, you're right. I can't force them. They have to make an effort as well. But that's just like the first baby step. We have a community dialogue. Now I've decided to be like the point person on campus to be able to provide like specialized advising to students from a foster care background. So I have been emailing them. I emailed them about this. I've emailed them about like different career workshops or financial aid workshops, or I've emailed them about, hey, I know classes are about to start. Are you in the right classes? Do you need extra help? Just to do what we can with what we have, because we're still working to like try to create more resources. We're still having a community dialogue, but again, it is a little bit of a slow process and it takes a lot of work to get stuff in place. So that, although that is something, again, we're not able to provide them with housing yet. Actually, other schools, which is the last thing, other universities have specialized dorms or residence halls that stay open during the summer and winter break just for foster youth students. Other universities also create scholarships and they have one person that manages the scholarships and meets with the students twice a semester, makes sure they're on track, checks in with their academics. They have certain things that they have to complete to be in the program to receive the scholarship. So basically the scholarship is a foundation that says if you want this scholarship, great, you need to come see me twice a semester. You need to go to this financial aid workshop in order to help them, of course, not to make them miserable, but to help them because these are things that they may not know. So that's what other schools also do, little things like send students care packages. When I worked at CSU, I created a very similar program where we sent students care packages every fall and spring. Because they would say to us, well, we live in all these dorms with all these students that get a letter from mom and dad every other week, get a phone call every night, get a Valentine's Day package, get a Labor Day package. I mean, they got packages all the time. And so they were just like, we started sending ourselves packages just so we could feel like we were part of the group, basically. So then we said, okay, so we'll send you care packages then with school supplies, snacks, blankets, sheets, comforters, shampoo, just little necessities and little fun things too, gift cards. So other schools, this is pretty groundbreaking because there's not a whole lot of universities that really support this population. California actually has a couple. CSU, Colorado State has a program. Western Michigan has a program. There's a school in Texas that has a program, but it's just a few scattered schools here and there. It's not a whole lot of universities, so this is pretty cutting edge because this is just not something that's, it's brand new. So, but that's what some of the other schools are doing, providing scholarships, keeping housing open, because again, like you said, how can you worry about networking if you don't have a place to live? So keeping housing open. We actually at CSU weren't able to keep the housing open during the summer, but we worked really, really hard and finally got them to keep it open for Thanksgiving break. I mean, I know that doesn't solve all the problems, but that was just one baby step. And then the next goal would be to keep it open for winter break. But they had to find the staff too, so that's why it's a slow process, because they have to have the staff to work all summer or to work during the winter break. So there's all these things that go into it, Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. A question and a comment. The comment first, I want to reiterate your thought about networking and emphasize that. I mean, you've had success with networking, and as you say, with networking, I mean, there's Maslow's needs, but there's also the power of networking is such that the networking then leads you to the resources. And I don't know anything more powerful than having someone that you can trust, or people that you can trust, that can then inform you of where there are resources. So I'd like to underline the power of networking, and then ask you a question. So I'm a faculty member and administrator at FIU. I don't know what the resources are for emancipated or non-emancipated foster kids. So if you could just tell me what these resources are.
I actually have a little sheet that I'm going to pass out that has a list of resources. But yeah, there's several programs for scholarships, internships, housing. It's like community housing. It's not FIU housing, right? So it's some of the shelters in Miami-Dade. There's networking, basically like clubs. It's called Foster Care Alumni of America. Yeah, you can pass them out. So these are some resources. I put on the front resources for students, and then on the back resources for advocates or people that want to get involved. So KC Family Programs is a great organization that has all kinds of research, all kinds of resources, programs, everything you can imagine about this population and for this population. So their information is on the back. So if you want to volunteer, if you want to get involved, there's resources for you to do that. If you're interested in what's going on here at FIU or with the community dialogue, you can contact me. Betsy, do you want to just mention the community dialogue and give a brief? We don't have a lot of time, so just a brief.
Hello, everyone. I'm so thrilled this is happening. My name is Betsy Skip. I'm a guardian ad litem. I represent children that are in the foster care system. I represent them as a volunteer in court. I'm not an attorney. I'm just there to represent their interests. Their mother has a lawyer, their father has a lawyer, the state has a lawyer, the child has nobody. So we step in as volunteers to really advocate for that child and make sure his wishes and dreams and hers come true. So over the years, I've begun to work just primarily with the teenage population, because my kids are kind of around the same age, or were at the point. And I found that, again, that it's this thing of educational. How do I get into college? Oh, half these children don't even have the aspiration. There's no way I'm going to go. I'm too dumb, or I won't, whatever happens. So a dear friend of mine and I, who we used to be with Educate Tomorrow, Dr. Steve Rios, teamed up together and started this promoting academic success, a community dialogue, and we've gone to all kinds of people all over Miami and Broward County, promoting what Brittany's been talking about. And we've been in talks with FIU for almost 2 years now, and we're finally getting somewhere. It's really, really exciting. And it's just so exciting that people really are witnessing this population.
Can anyone be involved?
Huh?
Can anyone in this room, if they want to get involved,
Absolutely.
can they be involved?
Absolutely. I mean, networking. The more people you talk to, the more your idea gets out there. And here we are having this dialogue today, furthering the dialogue. I think when people realize the need, they're going to step up to the plate, including businesses in Miami. You're asking for funding and foundations, and these children come out of a terrible situation in their lives, and I think as a society, the least we can do is try to help back. And maybe by doing this, maybe education will really start at a young age with families, so that they don't get into the situation of foster care.
So I've been in contact a lot with Betsy and Steve Rios, the person she mentioned, but I think I've only actually been to one community dialogue, and we just kind of talked about some of the things that the schools were doing, some of the things we could improve on. Are there other, like is there a set agenda, or what exactly do you guys start out with every time?
I don't know about a set agenda because it's this process of everybody has ideas and what's going to be what's going to work at FIU is not necessarily going to work at Miami-Dade College. How do we reach out? And one of the other agendas we have is how do we reach out to the high schools all over Miami? How does FIU get in there? When are they allowed to get in there? Is the population of the foster care youth in the high schools do they want to step up to the plate then? And I know that's happening already with Miami-Dade and FIU are doing that reach out. And I'm talking about starting in the 12th grade. I'm talking about starting in the 9th grade. You've got to get to this, any youth, by the time they're in 8th or 9th grade going, here's a whole agenda for you guys. We're going to get you in here. We're going to be a good parent and hold your hand all the way through college and make sure you graduate and you become a successful human being. So there is no set agenda. Everybody's ideas are open and welcome because you never know. I mean, there are many, as you say, the Casey Foundation, there are many places in California, these colleges that, yes, they have, the structures, ABC are there, and, kind of bylines that you follow. And that's a given. But past that point, it really has to come down to for me, the specific university, what can they do, how much can they want to be involved, how many students are really on the campus, how much their board of trustees wants to get involved to get the money and community involved, because keeping a dorm open takes staff and money. I know FIU doesn't have that money right now.
Yeah, so
anybody could be involved.
Yeah, so these are the kinds of issues that we discuss. So you guys are all welcome to be involved. If you have any questions whatsoever, we're running out of time, but if you have any questions, my email is on the green sheet of paper, and I also gave you my card, so please email me. I'm super excited about this. I love this. I'm passionate about it. So please, even if you don't even want to be involved, if you just want to give me feedback, or if you have any ideas or thoughts or comments, please let me know. So thank you so much. Oh, okay. Oh, hi. I thought you worked. I was like, you look familiar. Okay, very briefly, Educate Tomorrow. I actually mentor with them. They are a great organization that really strives to work with students in high school and prepare them for college. So briefly, I'll let you.
Actually, we work with kids all the way up until, we won't stop working with you ever until you graduate from college. And even when you graduate from college, if you want to go get your master's, we won't stop working. You can just
yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we won't stop working with you. We work with you throughout the whole thing, and our main focus is kids who are either in the foster care system or have aged out of the foster care system. You don't have to have aged out if you were ever in the foster care system, or if you just need help. We pair you with a mentor, and then we work really closely with you and that mentor to just help you with anything you need. As somebody said, how can we worry about a child's grades if they don't have a place to sleep or eat? So that's always our first step in doing that. And through our networking with foster care agencies, all other types of resources around the community, the child walks in and they don't have a place to eat or sleep, by the end of that day, they're gonna have a place to eat or sleep, for sure. That's gonna happen because there's resources all around here, and especially to this specific population, people do not say no. You just need to know who to ask. And we're here to do that, and not only to help you by, pairing you up with the right person, but also empowering the foster youth of how to do it themselves and how to advocate for themselves, because it even looks much better if they're able to stand in an administrator's face and say, I'm a former foster youth and I'm a good student, but I have these needs and I'm not going to be able to do well in your school if I can't follow through with these needs. So basically, we do everything, and we have offices downtown where we have a student drop-in center. You can come, you can do your homework there, we can help you register for financial aid or for your classes, or if you need a test prep for whether it's the GED, SAT, ACT, whatever it is. We can, whatever need that you have, our goal is to figure out a way to get it for you or for the child that you're working with. And we've been talking to FIU about possibly coming onto campus and helping them create a network for this population. and we talked a lot about what's the best way to find them, and yeah, there's emails, and odds are, these kids are on a lot of people's list as this population, so maybe they get a lot of emails. So
I
maybe-
meet with them, by the way. I don't just email
no,
them.
Of course you do. Well, I mean, just something to reaching out with them and letting them know, like, hey, this isn't to put a big stigma on you again. This isn't to like, this is just, we want to get you guys in touch with each other so that you're talking to each other, you're talking to us, and that everybody realizes. And especially if they have the tuition waiver and RTI, we want to help them stay on track so that they keep it. Because that's not easy. My first year, freshman year of college at FSU, my first semester I got put on probation because I was so depressed about being away from home and I was out of the norm and like I just didn't do very well. So I would have lost my RTI.
That's Road to Independence.
Yeah, that's a Road to
That's the
Independence
stipend.
scholarship. That's the stipend that we talk about that they'll get monthly. But if you mess up, you lose it. And so, really to stay with them and make sure that they keep that too. So you guys have this. Give us a call if you know anybody or if you yourself could use our services. And hopefully we'll be on campus.
Thank you.
So as we end, I would like to thank our moderator as well as the people representing various resources that came to add to this topic. I encourage you to stay connected with global learning year-round. Not only are we here every single week, as mentioned with the roundtables, we are planning a number of events this semester, including live teleconferences with New York Times editors, national issues forums, which also gives another venue to discuss issues that are of national importance, and we're working hard on International Education Week events this fall as well. Of course, there are also over 100 global learning courses you can take if you're a student to broaden your global awareness and perspective, and all the resources you need to know about that graduation requirement and those courses, along with all the activities I mentioned are on our website, goglobal.fiu.edu. We're here every week if you want to talk to any of us in person about working with you on events or what events we have coming up. Please give our moderator a round of applause.
Thank you.